Yes, over here, and then over there we'll go next. Right down here on the second row, and then over there.
Hi, in The Year Without a Santa Claus, where did you come up with the concept for the Heat Miser and Snow Miser brothers?
It came out of a script conference. The original story of The Year Without a Santa Claus is from a book written by Phyllis McGinley, won a Pulitzer Prize. It's a very simple story. It's if you buy the book, and I'm sure it's still available, or it may be out of print, Rick. Is it out of print? I think so. Yeah. It's a very slim book. It's 4 or 5 pages. But I was taken with the idea, also the fact that as a sales tool, you asked me this before, it's good to have a writer attached that won a Pulitzer Prize for a simple little Christmas story. So that was very attractive to the network. It was ABC. And we sold it with just that, and then worked on the script. And these characters emerged. You never know what's going to happen when you're writing a script. You never know what's going to happen when you make a film. Like the man said who wrote the book, remember this about this business. Nobody knows anything. And it's true. You take your best shot, and they came out. They just emerged.
What were these script sessions typically like? How many people would you have in a room?
Usually 3 of us. Romeo, myself, and Jules Bass.
And you're all just throwing out ideas?
Yeah.
And then he would go back and implement the ideas into the script?
Yes.
So how many drafts did you typically go through?
Oh, half a dozen.
Okay. You have a question over there?
It's a pleasure, sir. When I was a kid, I was skinny and I wore glasses, and kids made fun of me. And Rudolph was, I totally related to that, and it just really touched me. And I just want to thank you for, kind of got me through some of those years. And Johnny Marks, those songs and your animation, it's a perfect marriage of just killer songs and just killer animation. And I just wonder, did the songs come, were any of those songs besides Rudolph come before the animation, or did you have the animation and then Johnny came with the songs?
He may have had Holly Jolly Christmas written. I think he probably did. All songwriters have songs in a trunk. I'll digress for a moment and tell you a very amusing story. I acquired the rights to a song called White Christmas, written by Irving Berlin, because I had called a copyright office and the song was available. So we sent over our check right away, like within minutes, and we got back a signed form copy. Now the guy who sold us the song at the Copyright Bureau was just doing a daily work. It came up with a computer or whatever they were using at the time, and my God, we had the rights to White Christmas. I couldn't believe it. So we constructed a very small outline about that, ran over to the closest network, which whoever was closest to our office, and sold it right away. And about 3 days later, an attorney called us and said that he represented Irving Berlin. And if Mr. Berlin he realized that we had a legal right to that song, but he did not want his music to be used again. He was putting it all on hiatus. He was gathering back all of his works just to decide what to do in the future. At that time, Irving Berlin was 90 years old, or 95 years old. And so I said to his attorney, I said, well, you do understand that we have the copyright, we own this legally, and I'm afraid it's a little late, it's already been sold. He said, would you mind if Mr. Berlin calls you himself? I said, well, I'd be honored, but I don't know what to tell him. And a day later or so, Mr. Berlin calls, and he tells me that, well, his attorney told us that he would like to bring all his songs back and put them back in the file and not let anyone use them until he decided where he was going from here. And at that age, I respected everything he said to him. I said to him, you know what? I bet that you might have something in your trunk. If you've got a Christmas song that we can publicize and say is a new song, I'm sure I can go back to the network and tell them that we're not going to do White Christmas, we're going to do the new Irving Berlin Christmas song. And there was a long pause, and there was a raspy voice said, yeah, but I don't do that shit no more. Sorry, kiddies, that was, you didn't hear that.
So what's the end of that story? Did you use the...
No, we used White Christmas.
Okay. Looking for someone who hasn't asked a question yet. Okay, we'll go back to you, and then we'll take yours.
Hi, I have two questions. Have you seen the Mad TV parodies? On Mad TV,
Yes.
How do you like them?
It's a parody.
Oh, okay. And they recently made, maybe a few years ago, a movie about the Island of Misfit Toys. I didn't see it yet, but were you involved in that?
Not in
And do
any
you have
way.
any comments?
No, I was not.
All right, thank you.
No,
Don't
no,
watch it.
I
Okay.
didn't. I didn't watch it.
Okay, over here.
I just wanted to point out on the heels of the question about the swimming bird, I also noticed another inconsistency in Year Without a Santa Claus. The elves get when they're disguising the reindeer as a dog, and they don't have a dog's license, and they get busted also for wearing funny clothes on Sunday. If it was Sunday, how come Ignatius and his friends were at school, and how come the mayor was holding session in his office that day?
He was the mayor. You can adjust it. Very funny.
You know, one person...
Way in the back. You
okay, I'm sorry, yeah,
And
all the
then
way in the back. Thank you.
Hi. Have you seen the movie Elf, and do they need to have your permission to do homages like that to Rankin
No, that's
Rankin Bass
interesting. I
characters?
ran out to see it because I'd read pre-publicity that they were going to use some of the attitude from our films. I didn't realize that they would do Sam the Snowman exactly like we did it. That's a bit much. One could complain about that. One could take issue, but I won't. We're ripped off quite a bit over the years.
In the back.
Yeah. Hello. I know you mentioned the Edgar Bergen pilot, but were there any other projects that didn't get done that you really wish you had done?
No, we never went to pilot form on anything except that one show, which was a guaranteed pickup by Chevrolet, who was a sponsor. No, we never did too many pilots. We had many presentations that were turned down. That's all part of the business. But we never went to film.
Down here.
How is the experience of doing Saturday morning, like King Kong and the Jackson 5, different from your experience doing the primetime specials?
Well, there was just more film to make, that's all. You had to make, at that time they would buy 26 half hours and sometimes double that. And it was a less exacting task because you had just to make a continuing story. You would take one episode and it would lead into the other, whereas the specials were contained in one piece. But they're two interesting areas to work in.
One person who you'd worked with on The Hobbit, which we saw, although we didn't see him, who I'm curious to know if you could share any recollections about, is John Huston, who seems like absolutely the perfect Gandalf. It's harder to think of a better voice than that. What was it like? How did you get him, and what was it like working with him?
Well, I envisioned him as the voice of Gandalf, as you say. He had a tremendous presence in his speaking voice. And we contacted him, and he agreed to do it. He did it twice. He did it in the Return of the King, too. Did he do that?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Rick knows these things. I don't know all this.
And you also got Otto Preminger, which was
Funny
interesting.
story. John Huston told us this story about Preminger because we did Huston first, and we told him we were going to use Otto Preminger. And he said, let me tell you this story. He said, Otto gave me, just as John Huston speaking, gave me my first job as an actor in The Cardinal. He said, and he had a young man playing the lead who has never had much experience. And I said to him, excuse me for interfering, Otto, but you're going to lose your lead actor. He's petrified. He is so scared to death of you. Because Otto Preminger was a dynamic director, to say that, and a rude and a tough man. And Preminger said, what do you mean? He said, well, I think he's not going to make it. He's so uptight about working for you. And Preminger said, I'll take care of that. And he went over to the actor and he grabbed him and he said, relax! So Houston, knowing that we were going to record Preminger, recorded the following. And we played this tape as Preminger was reading, like his third or fourth reading into the part. And Houston said, could we stop this, please? Otto, you're a disgrace. You're not an actor. I mean, this is the worst performance I've ever... this is not going to go forward. I think you should give up right now and resign. And Preminger's neck blew up like a balloon. What is this coming from? Where is it? Who is saying this to me? And John ended by saying, and this is your loving friend, John Huston. So Preminger went on with the part. But John and I knew on a personal basis, knew each other for some years before that, but that's another story.
You want to tell it?
No.
You know, I asked you before who you, about your favorite program, which you said you can't really decide because you've loved them all, but is there somebody who worked with you as one of these people who signed on a individual? I'm not talking so much, you talked about the friendships that you developed among the people who were sort of like your family because they worked with you from project to project to project. But of all the people who signed on for individual projects, like Fred Astaire, Jimmy Cagney, or John Huston, or Otto Preminger, is there somebody who, you know, was an absolute delight to work with? And
But Danny Kaye became a close friend of mine.
yeah,
We traveled together. We did work for UNICEF together. As you can see in some of this, he was in Japan.
uh-huh.
He lived with me when he was in New York. I had a house on 30th Street and Park Avenue, and he was my house guest, and I stayed with him in Los Angeles. We became very close friends. He was a very brilliant man. He wasn't just what he appeared to be. He was sort of a Renaissance person. He could do everything. He flew. I had a birthday in Japan. I was making a film there, and he flew a plane over to spend my. Pardon me. The Army had a plane coming over, and he was allowed to fly it, and he came over to surprise me on a birthday. Great guy, sorely missed.
Is there a story about his wife and Jack Warner where you were?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you know these things?
Rick.
Did Rick? That's not in the book. It's not in the book, is it?
It is. It is in the book.
Well, it was Danny's birthday one night in Los Angeles, and it was his. I don't know. He was 65 or something like that. A rainy night out, like a horror movie, and there's a knock at the door, and we open the door. There's Jack Warner standing there. Now, wow, I'm impressed. Jack Warner. You know who Jack Warner is? Jack Warner invented Warner Brothers. He was the head of Warner Brothers. He was a motivating, dynamic producer, one of the 3 or 4 men that ran Hollywood in the golden years, and a difficult man, and a devout Republican. Anyhow, he surprised us all by coming in and said, I knew it was your birthday, and I just dropped by to wish you a happy birthday. Now, Danny's politics and his wife's politics were not Republican. You may remember the unfriendly, the committees and so forth, when they flew in from Hollywood on a plane to appear against these people who were putting people in jail for not answering their questions. Anyhow, when Jack Warner walked in, his wife got up and left the table and went upstairs and wouldn't come back. But Jack Warner was very amusing. I never met him before or saw him again. But he was like George Jessel. He told jokes all night.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We've unfortunately run out of time. I want to say that in all the years I've been doing this, I don't think I've ever been on stage with somebody whose work has bonded so intensely with that of the audience. And I guess part of it is that there's something about what we watch as kids, but a lot of it is the genius that you and the people who worked with you put into it, and the warmth and the emotion and just as I said in my opening, I think you've really defined holidays for generations of people through your specials, and I want to thank you very much.